1. Alabama was a center for space exploration. While often associated with agriculture in the Civil War, Alabama played a key role in the space race. Huntsville, known as Rocket City, was home to Wernher von Braun and his team of German engineers who developed the Saturn V rocket that took humans to the moon. 2. Montgomery was the birthplace of the Confederacy and the Civil Rights Movement. Montgomery was both the first capital of the Confederacy and later the epicenter of the Civil Rights Movement. It was where Jefferson Davis was inaugurated as Confederate President, 1861, and where Rosa Parks sparked the Montgomery bus boycott, 1955. 3. The Civil War's first capital was briefly in Alabama. Montgomery served as the Confederate capital for just 3 months before it was moved to Richmond, Virginia. This made Alabama central to the Confederacy's early days despite its later marginalization. 4. Alabama played a role in ending prohibition early. Alabama repealed its statewide prohibition laws in 1933 before the federal repeal of the 18th Amendment. It was one of the first southern states to do so despite its reputation for conservatism. 5. The state once had the largest steel producer in the South. Birmingham, Alabama, known as the Magic City, became an industrial hub in the late 19th and early 20th centuries. It grew rapidly because of its steel production, a surprising industrial powerhouse in a predominantly agricultural South. 6. The University of Alabama was ahead in gender equality. The University of Alabama admitted its first woman, Julia Tutwiler, in 1893, much earlier than many institutions in other parts of the United States, even in more progressive areas. 7. Alabama had an early equal rights advocate in the 19th century. Julia Tutwiler, often called the mother of coeducation in Alabama, not only advocated for women's education, but also for prison reform and better conditions for marginalized groups during a time when such views were rare in the South. 8. A rural Alabama town holds a famous global experiment. Tuskegee, Alabama is famously linked to the Tuskegee Airmen, but it's also the site of one of the most infamous public health experiments in U.S. history, the Tuskegee Syphilis Study 1. 9, 3, 2, 1, 9, 7, 2. This unethical study contrasted sharply with the heroic legacy of the Tuskegee Airmen. 9. A first open defiance of segregation laws happened in Alabama. Before Rosa Parks, a woman named Claudette Colvin refused to give up her bus seat in Montgomery in 1955. She was just 15 years old and challenged segregation laws in court. 10. Alabama's Constitution is the longest in the world. The Alabama State Constitution, adopted in 1901, is the longest in the world, with over 3,800 words. It includes laws and amendments on topics as minor as mosquito control, demonstrating how centralized power was used to suppress local governance, especially in African American communities. 11. Mobile was a French colony before it was American. Mobile, Alabama, was the capital of French Louisiana from 1702 to 1711. The city's Mardi Gras celebrations predate New Orleans' famous festival, making it the oldest such tradition in the U.S. Well, Alabama's role in desegregation was both notorious and transformative. While Alabama is often remembered for Governor George Wallace's infamous stand in the schoolhouse door, opposing integration, it was also home to key victories for the civil rights movement, such as the Selma to Montgomery marches that led to the Voting Rights Act of 1965. 13. The first submarine to sink a warship was built in Alabama. The Confederate submarine H.L. Hunley which became the first submarine to successfully sink an enemy ship, the USS Housatonic, was built in Mobile, Alabama during the Civil War. While associated with maritime innovation, Alabama is largely landlocked. Boateng, a socialist colony, thrived in Alabama. In the late 19th century, a socialist utopian community called the Ruskin Colony was established in Dixon, Alabama, originally part of Tennessee before relocation. It was one of the few Southern experiments in communal living, emphasizing cooperative farming and shared resources. 15. Alabama has the oldest state-operated archives in the U.S. Precinct, the Queen Mary, the Alabama Department of Archives and History. Founded in 1901, was the first state-run archival agency in the country. Despite its relatively young statehood, admitted to the Union in 1819, Alabama led the nation in preserving its history. 16. Mobile's Mardi Gras was more civilized than New Orleans. Mobile, not New Orleans, started the first Mardi Gras celebration in the U.S. in 1703. Unlike the raucous atmosphere associated with New Orleans, Mobile's early Mardi Gras was a more formal, organized affair, involving society balls and parades. 17. Alabama's Black Belt was not named for race. The Black Belt region of Alabama, often associated with its African American population, actually derives its name from the dark, fertile soil that made it a prime area for agriculture. 18. An Alabama native created the Super Soaker. Lonnie Johnson, a NASA engineer from Mobile, Alabama, invented the Super Soaker water gun. This revolutionary toy became one of the best-selling toys of all time, an unexpected innovation from someone known for space technology. 19. The state outlawed dueling early. In 1819, Alabama became one of the first states to outlaw dueling, a surprising move for a southern state during a time when personal honor was often defended through duels. 20. The Alabama legislature once impeached its own governor for opposing secession. Governor Andrew B. Moore was effectively ousted from power after trying to slow Alabama's move towards secession in 1861. Despite the state's reputation for Confederate loyalty, this shows that not everyone in Alabama supported the break from the Union. 21. Alabama's civil rights history includes violent opposition and lasting progress. While known for violent opposition to desegregation, the 16th Street Baptist church bombing, Alabama also became home to transformative figures like Dr. Martin Luther King, Jr., who first rose to prominence during the Montgomery bus boycott. 22. Slavery persisted in Alabama after emancipation. Long after the 13th Amendment, Alabama was one of several states where black individuals were subjected to convict leasing, a system akin to slavery, into the early 20th century. Many of these abuses were tied to state governments and corporations. 23. Alabama played a role in women's suffrage. Although Alabama initially rejected the 19th Amendment, Birmingham women's groups played a key role in lobbying for women's suffrage. Alabama later ratified the amendment in 1953, decades after it became law. 24. The first electric trolley system in the U.S. operated in Montgomery. In 1886, Montgomery became the first city in the United States to operate an electric trolley system, highlighting its surprising early embrace of technological progress. 25. Alabama's state flag resembles the Confederate battle flag. The Alabama state flag, adopted in 1895, has a red diagonal cross on a white background resembling the Confederate battle flag. However, this design was likely modeled after the Cross of St. Andrew commonly used in other flags. 26. Birmingham's nickname, the Magic City, was about growth, not magic. Birmingham earned its nickname, the Magic City, in the late 19th century due to its rapid industrial growth, not any mystical or supernatural connotations. Its booming steel industry was compared to industrial cities in the north, like Pittsburgh. Tony 7. Alabama was once a wet state in a dry South. Before Prohibition, Alabama had areas with relatively lax alcohol laws compared to neighboring states, including thriving moonshine operations and some legal local breweries. 28. Alabama played a role in modern medicine. The state was home to the first open-heart surgery performed in the South at the University of Alabama at Birmingham in 1964. Today, UAB is one of the top medical research institutions in the country. 29. Alabama's role in the Civil War was financial as well as military. The state provided significant financial resources to the Confederacy, producing currency, arms, and supplies. Montgomery, with its central location and resources, was crucial in the Confederacy's early financial system. 30. Alabama's economy thrived on World War II. While many southern states struggled with poverty during the Great Depression, Alabama saw an economic boost during World War II due to military bases, shipbuilding in Mobile, and munitions factories.